Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Healing with Coherence podcast. I'm Mikhail. I'm the host of this podcast, which is founded by Radiant Life Technologies. And for those of you who have been listening to the podcast, you already know what we are trying to achieve through our conversations with our guests. And those of you who are here for the first time, I would like to welcome you and to share with you that this is a podcast that is diving deep into the transformation of healing, health, and healing technology that has been taking place in the world today. And within the podcast, I've been meeting with different people from different walks of life who have been taking an active role in this transformation. They've been actually trying to provide a lead, to be on the forefront of the transformation by introducing novelties, new technologies, new modalities, new techniques for healing, and also educating people in the way how they can take care of their own health by being more proactive, by trusting more in their own abilities to heal themselves and in the abilities of their bodies to take care of themselves. At the end of the day, the best healer that actually we can reach out to is the healer within. The healer within our beings, the healer within our bodies, the one who actually knows best how to heal us, how to heal itself, how to heal the body. Everything that actually we are supposed to do is to not stand in its way by slowing down the process, by entering into the body anything that can harm that process, that can slow down the process of healing. And all this transformation that we've been discussing and talking about within Healing with Coherence is about ways how to support the healer within our bodies. Healing with Coherence actually stands for Comra Therapy. Comra Therapy is the therapy which is behind Healing with Coherence. It's just another way how to call Comra Therapy, because Comra is abbreviation for coherence through modulation of radiances, and it is a modality which provides coherence and coherent electromagnetic frequencies in complete synergy into the body in order to support the healer within. Usually the guests that we are meeting with are guests who work with humans, with human beings, but our guest today is an exception to that rule, because this is our first guest who is working with animals, and specifically with dogs. We are going to meet with Diane, the founder of a non-profit organization called F.A.R.T, which is running a dog shelter. And you are going to understand just in a little bit what F.A.R.T actually stands for, because that's a very interesting story. And I really love the story behind. And Diane is a lovely person as well. She is really passionate about helping stray dogs and rescuing them and finding them a new home and taking care of their health as well. And we also have a magnificent story of healing that me and Diane has been witnessing with one of her dogs, and that's Trudy. Trudy is a special dog who has been receiving care with the help of Diane and Comra Therapy, and I'm really excited to share the story of Trudy with all of you. So there is a lot that Diane wants to share with you, and I will help her with that. So without further ado, let's jump into the story and conversation and discussion that we are about to have with Diane. Before we do that, one last thing. If you have not subscribed yet to our channels, please do so right now. It is tremendous help for us when we are growing our subscribers, because this is what actually as well prompts the algorithm on social media, on the platforms where Healing with Coherence is, to distribute Healing with Coherence to even more listeners and to spread the word about Comra Therapy and also about all these wonderful people that we are interviewing. So please follow us, subscribe on any of the platforms that you've been listening and following us, comment, share the episodes. It is really a big support for us. So thank you very much, and let's meet Diane. Hello, Diane. How are you doing?
Well,
Welcome to Healing with Coherence.
yes, healing with coherence, correct?
That's the name of the podcast, Healing with Coherence. It stands, it's basically a nickname for Comra Therapy, which is
Yes.
behind Healing with Coherence. But in fact, Healing with Coherence is what Comra Therapy does, because Comra stands for coherent or coherence through modulation of radiances. And basically, it is a healing technology which uses coherence to heal the organism. And that's how we came to the name of Healing with Coherence, and that's how we named the podcast.
I think one of the first questions that I had asked you was like, what do you mean by coherence, right? Because that word in itself like ties everything together. And so like once we kind of started talking about everything, then it all made sense. So very good on the name, I must say.
Well, okay, thank you about it. And that's the first question that I wanted to ask you is actually because in the introduction, I mentioned to the listeners that you are the founder of F.A.R.T.
Yes.
It's a non-profit which is running a dog shelter. And I wanted to ask you what actually the name F.A.R.T means and how did you come to your name? I mean, to the name of F.A.R.T.
Uh, so I'll just say something before that. So here in the US, there's a big difference between like someone who runs a rescue and someone who runs a shelter. And so I just want to say that I run an animal rescue out of my home. I am a registered nonprofit 501(c)(3). Shelters are typically contracted like with the city or county that they reside in. So I'm not contracted with anything. I'm just like this one woman show that pretends to know what she's doing. Confidence and delusion are my coherence in all of this.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, we're gonna speak about it because I'm really interested how are you doing with that actually?
Yeah.
With
Well, and then that kind of ties into to F.A.R.T, right? Me naming this animal rescue because when you start a nonprofit or a business, you get the privilege of making your impact known almost right away. And how do you want to do that? You want to stand out. You want to be different. So as small as I know I am, how big can I be right off the bat? And that just depends on how much gas you're holding, I suppose. But what F.A.R.T stands for is foster, adopt, rescue, transport. And I feel that those are four really main key pillars in what I do. So fostering and then adopting, rescuing, and that comes from the sense of not just animal rescue, but human.
yeah.
What this whole thing has done for me personally and how it's rescued me, and then transport, another big key factor on animal rescue. So getting an animal from point A to point B.
How long did it take you to come with the name?
Oh, it was like instant, but because I feel like I had seen it on Facebook. Like someone made a joke about someone naming their nonprofit F.A.R.T. And it was probably years before I had
Okay.
even started it. And I'm like, yeah, that is funny because it's like you'd be asking people to help you fart, essentially. And it stuck. And then when I got into animal rescue, it's the first thing I thought of. And then I sat on it because I'm like, there's like, I'm still embarrassed sometimes when I say, like, hey, my website is helpusfart.com. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, and there is a fart disclaimer. Like, you have to click, I agree to enter my site. I don't like it's just because I don't know. I wanted to be really unique and play to that. And I just had to go all in. So that's how Fart came about. And the confidence behind it, that's the delusion and confidence part, right?
All
It just
right.
hope it helps.
Well,
So
it's a great marketing actually. It's great marketing. I really like it. So as you said, I mean, you needed to start big and
big.
bold right from the beginning. And it's actually at the end of the day, it's something that I was saying in the introduction that it's actually as well something that belongs to the world of dogs. All owners know it very well. so it clicks. It's perfect. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it,
Then, what has been your the drive behind founding actually a dog shelter or a non-profit for
yeah,
helping street dogs, homeless
yeah,
dogs? Yeah.
yeah. Um, that's a great question. Peer pressure, maybe from the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the real thing. And then once you kind of look at the big picture is the rescuing that I do is these animals will find me. I live in the Central Valley of California where you drive 10 minutes and you're gonna see a handful of stray animals on any given day. It is such a normal thing to see. And so being this uh, let me I decided to start a nonprofit organization because I realized very quickly early on when I started rescuing about 3 years ago, the benefits that would come with that nonprofit registered like trademark essentially. It gives the people a sense of knowing that this is an established organization. Now there's good rescues and there's bad rescues, right? We've heard stories about all of this. So me saying I'm a nonprofit animal rescue essentially just gives people a sense of peace from what they know animal rescue to be. Does that make sense? I wouldn't be a nonprofit organization if I didn't have social media at my forefront for raising donations and getting the word out there. And that is because of all of the hoops that you have to jump through as a one person show trying to do and have an impact in some capacity within this really unregulated world is very, very difficult. And throwing the status of a nonprofit and everything that goes along with that adds more onto this rescuer who essentially has this big task at hand, depending on whatever animal is coming in, whatever is needed, because every case is different.
Mm.
So I feel like it just adds a sense of security for the masses, but yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
You know,
tractor.
you said about the. I mean, there are a lot of stray dogs in California, and something that I didn't know. I come originally from Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, and actually we had quite a long history of stray dogs. There are no more that much stray dogs actually because they did a campaign of actually through nurturing um, the dogs. They kind of started decreasing the numbers. But I remember when I was young,
Mhm.
like I don't know 15, 16, and I used to live in Bulgaria. I'm now based in Czech Republic. uh, there were packs of stray dogs actually in the capital in Sofia, which is a big city basically, and in the suburban parts, even people were afraid to go out early mornings because there would be packs of like I don't know 8, 9, 10 dogs, and they were aggressive. Some of them, they would basically really really injure people. um, so they after that they later on as the new millennium started and it was a bigger and bigger problem, so they started taking care of that. Now it's interesting that there are still stray dogs actually. Almost each flat of block of flats, big concrete block of flats in Sofia, they will have at
Mhm.
least one stray dog living in front of in front of the block of
That
flats,
they all take care of,
and
or
people taking care of it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but they are vaccinated, they are nurtured, so basically they're having, I don't know, I think quite all right life. But my question is, where is this leading me to is, how do you choose your clients or your patients, or how would you call them? How you tell
Um,
how you choose the dogs basically who join your shelter?
yeah, so as you mentioned, these packs of dogs, right, which are very, very dangerous, and that still exists in a lot of places around uh, here in California and a lot of the southern states where there isn't this natural winter to, what's the word I'm looking for? The nice word that I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, to decrease the numbers, I don't know.
Yeah, where
Yeah,
there isn't the natural cycle
yes, the
to
natural cycle.
yeah, to weed off these animals that can't make it through these seasons. But here in southern states, so it's not just California, it's a lot of California. Texas is another big, where all of our shelters, the ones that are contracted by local government to take. Okay, I need to back up a second. Can you ask me that question again? Because there's like four different branches my brain tried to go down all at once, and I don't want to do that.
No problem, absolutely. My question and the story that I was sharing led me to a question, which was, how do you choose the dogs that come to your shelter?
Yeah, fortunately and unfortunately, I don't choose them. I always say that they choose me, and it's true. And that's taken the 3 years that I've been doing this to really find what that rhythm looks like, what my capacity is to help an animal in need. Because what good am I doing if I'm bringing another animal in and it's taking away from the ones I already have? And so it all depends, a case by case basis. I know my number limit, and that number limit also depends on my like intake, behavioral, medical, whatever it may be, like these parameters that I have to stick within to ensure these animals get the best care possible is kind of always fluctuating based off whatever does come my way. So
Okay.
it really depends on whether it's a dog that ran out in front of my car, or a couple of them that I just saw on the corner driving home. One that ended up in like my path on my way out to the river, like it just, all of these dogs are so purposely placed in unique timing that it's like I just know when they're supposed to be up, or not when they're supposed to be with me, when I'm supposed to be this little vessel in their life to get them to the next step. Because that's all I am. Like I'm just placed there and they're placed there, and then we just go do that, and then it's done, and then we do it again. It's just
Okay. Okay. So what is that? What is that next step? What is that aim actually? So are you looking for a new home for them, or what is the process?
yeah, so typically every dog that comes into my care that I choose to bring under F.A.R.T's umbrella. So there's a difference between me as a human being that loves and cares for animals versus me who is running and trying to build a very fluid and successful nonprofit in a way that honors slowing down in animal rescue. Because there is such a need, and because there is so much pressure on people who do have rescues, we feel like we have to go, 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 go. And learning how to sit in all of this is kind of like, that train of thought went. Did you see me holding my hand here? Because I was holding the thought and then I let go. I opened my hand and I let it go. No. Okay. I was circling. I'm so sorry. I was circling
No
back.
problem. I was
What's
asking you, I'm interested, what is the usual process basically when you start,
next
so
step?
yeah,
The next step. This was the
the
next
next
step.
step. Yes.
The next step. The next step is then, once they're in my care, fully evaluating them as this unique being, right? Every dog is different. Every genetic makeup is different. Every breed has different characteristics. And there's all these different variables that go into like this guy right here,
Hello.
who's half, right? Hank, half German Shepherd, 25% Stafford Terrier or whatever that is. He's a bully mix, right? And so his behavioral issues are far different than Trudy, for example, who is this little terrier thing that has these odd little, and it's much different of a threat, both of their existence within a pack environment. So my next step is to evaluate to the best of my ability for at least at minimum 3 weeks. I have transported and done things with dogs like at a 2 week mark, but I choose to at least have them in my care for 3 weeks so that way I can learn and observe. And that 3 week time period is typically when you kind of start seeing their guard come down. Right after that 3 week period, you start doing like the introductions, right? You get to see how they play and maneuver and how do they handle treats being given to them solo or in a group? How do they handle solo a yard time with other dogs? Who can I place them with? So bringing a new dog in completely like has all these different things. And I love giving time for that because it allows me to then present this dog to whoever sees it and knows that's my dog.
All
That's my
right.
dog because I have all of these characteristics of them, right? Presented in a way where when I'm telling their story, I I am purposefully telling it so that one person hears it, sees it, wherever they are in Canada, across the United States, wherever they are, they see it, hear it, feel it, fill out an application, and about 90% of the time, that's how our adoptions work. That
Okay.
is how we get these applications where it's like, I just know.
Okay.
And we go through that adoption process, which is a whole nother like slew of things. But that is the end goal, is
All
any
right.
dog that's in my care is be in my care for the length of time. I will never put a time limit on their time with me. That doesn't exist. Like I have dogs that have been here over 2 years.
Okay.
The right people will come, they'll see them, and yeah, so.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What is the average time that the dogs stay with you, and the average time of basically finding them new parents?
Yep. The average time it takes to present them in a true and authentic way where an adopter first and foremost knows what they're getting into, knows that they have the support from this rescue regarding this, whether it's a behavioral, because a lot of times these dogs out here aren't socialized in any way possible. And I live even more secluded. So we call this like F.A.R.T ranch. It's very much like a sanctuary type environment. All the dogs here are inside, outside. So we crate and rotate. We have the one yard. So everyone just shares space. But as far as human interaction, the only human interaction they're now getting is from me. And they just think it's like the best thing in the world, right? And I just have to have this conversation. I'm like, there's more like me. I promise. And so a lot of them, they're scared of humans. And then like, what can I do as the rescuer? Well, I could take them into town and expose them to X, Y, and Z. And yeah, so then that gets into specific behavioral plans that each one needs and blah, blah, blah.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Diane, when we started, and now you reminded me that when you were saying that you're having these conversations with them, just basically telling them it's not only me, there are other nice people out there as well.
Yep.
And at the beginning, you were sharing with me that you had these little conversations with this fellow, which is standing, laying next to you. So how is that going? I mean, how do you communicate with them? How you understand what he was telling you? Because it was quite specific thing that you shared with me, right?
Mm-hmm. Um,
how he was feeling and what he wanted, and how are these waves going on between you
Yeah.
and them?
Yeah, it's interesting because I can look back to my childhood
Uh-huh.
and know exactly when I could communicate with animals. Um, and I feel like as I've grown up, I like lost that ability essentially because of just society that we live in and how silly it is that you can ask the trees for a hug and they'll move their branches, like these little things that you think as a child, where this world is so full of wonder that you have these magical powers to communicate to your surroundings. And I, as a kid, always felt like I had these magical powers where I felt comfort in speaking to animals or speaking to nature. And getting back into rescue, the R part of FART rescue, it's reminded me how connected I am on a just subconscious level. Of That's why I chuckled when you brought it up, because I didn't quite really understand this until more recently, that it I just talk to them. And
All
that's
right.
just like, it's as simple as that to me. Whether it's verbally, kind of depends on my mood, whether it's me just like, even if they're in the yard and there's like something going on out there, it depends like where I'm at. Am I able to like communicate to them in a way where I don't have to like go out there and say anything? Yeah, there's lots of different ways.
Well, it was funny that when we started and he came around and he looked into that. I was speaking and he looked into the screen and he saw me. I mean, he was just,
Oh, yeah, he knew. He immediately
oh,
knew
who's
there was.
that? Who's that? Ah.
He was not joking around. He's he's
Uh,
actually the one I can communicate most to within the entire
all
pack.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
he's the most receptive to me.
How long
So
you've been having him?
I've had him since he was a puppy. He was born in my bathroom.
All
He
right.
was my very he his litter and his story was my first rescue story. So
Okay. So he
yeah.
started the whole thing.
His mama did, yeah. And he was that pick of the litter, right? Like if I were in a position where I could have a puppy, and I wanted to like be selfish and like keep one of the puppies, like it was him. And this litter, it was 9 identical looking puppies, just like this. And black big dogs are the least to get adopted in
Wow,
most
really?
and rescue environments. That's why I have five. 5 out of my 11 are large black dogs. It's just like how it works. But anyways, with him, um, all of his siblings, including him, got adopted. He got adopted when he was 6 months old, and it was the hardest thing that I had ever done. But the family that he was going to um, an elderly family. It was just them, his only dog. Like the environment for him was just out of this world type good. And I knew I couldn't hold on to him. I knew I couldn't give him what they could. And that's kind of the existence of these dogs. When someone comes along and can give them more than what I can, it's an immediate, like, yes, just take them. We'll sign the contract later. Just go. It's great. But so his family was amazing. His dad was out on a walk with him and fell and hit his head and ended up in emergency surgery. And that was, I don't know how many months ago. But anyways, Hank came back into my care immediately because he is behavioral. He doesn't like other human beings. There was no other place for him to go except back here. And it was this moment where I've always kept space open for animals that have been adopted, because I know I'm not ignorant enough to think that they won't ever come back. I know at some point they might. I just didn't know it would be the one that I let go,
All right.
And so that's,
Nice.
yeah. He's special. He's very special.
He is indeed. That's actually a lovely story. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Actually, I wanted to ask you what was the most difficult case that you had. So you mentioned that this dog has been one of the most difficult cases, but is there another one which you would mention if I was to ask you this question?
Yeah, the one of the most difficult cases I have ever had. His name was Vern, and he was a small bully mix. I don't like saying specific breeds because I think it's absolutely irrelevant. Anyways, he was 6 years old, was just left to fend for himself in his cage his whole 6 years of life, right? He was given water and food, the essentials that an owner would provide where they don't get in trouble
Okay.
for. Right? Because that's all you have to do as a pet owner is provide food, water, and shelter. And what does that look like? It looks very, very different from state to state, which is wild to think about. But each state has, and even counties have its own law on what that looks like. So um, he had one of the worst cases of mange I've ever seen before. I mean, no hair. Well, he had some hair, but you could just pluck it right off just because of
Okay.
the layers of skin. So um I had him for 3 months before I had to medically euthanize him. And I had to medically euthanize him because I couldn't financially afford his care anymore. And as an animal rescuer, that learning that line and what that looked like, and knowing that it came from one, a place of love, because I knew I gave him the best 3 months of his life that he's ever fucking had. Ever. Not only that, millions of people loved him. His story reached so many people. And it was, I mean, there's still people where like maybe I'll post like a story of him, just like this quick blip because he's on my heart. And then it's the DMs of, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about Vern the other day. And then it's like that community and connection. And Vern was so purposely placed in my life to make these hard decisions. And I didn't have to medically euthanize him, but I chose to because I knew I couldn't go on anymore. I knew his care was taking away from all my other responsibilities, including my family, everything. And then after I medically euthanized, then I learned how ugly social media can really be
Mm.
from a perspective of even other rescues. How dare you not do XYZ? And every part of you wants to say, oh my gosh, I did XYZ plus MC squared 17 divided by 3 is what? I don't know. You get into this tailspin of like, how dare they challenge me? How dare anyone look at me? But then why am I doing this? I'm not doing this for anyone's opinion. I'm doing this for the animal. And so, see, I get so wrapped up in this energy coming from people who see just what I'm sharing and what Vern brought and deciding to come. What was the question? I didn't hold on to it. The hardest case,
The
Vern.
hardest case. The hardest
Just
case.
because there were so many elements to it. And then you have to like let it go. You have to let it go. And like there's still parts of me obviously where I can't let it go because did you even hear my thoughts? Like they get so angry. And so this is actually the first time I've been willing to talk about my hardest case because I haven't been able to do it without bawling or going into all the micro stories within the story of Vern being the hardest case and one of like my favorite also. And like it almost excites me to get to tell his story. Well, just his story and some of the harder stories in the capacity that I can. But yeah, that took some practice. Thanks for asking.
Diane, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. I mean, it is a nice sharing actually. It's,
What?
this reminded me. I just recently, and I'm connecting that to that moment. I just recently saw one of your reels, which I cannot recall now what it was exactly about. But you were sharing there about another difficult decision that you had to make, and you were criticized about.
Yes.
So can we speak a little bit around that, and not only around that, but in general around difficult decisions that people cannot imagine that you need to take care of, or need to take basically to make. So
Right.
what was that case and difficult decision that you needed to take just recently, or I don't know how far how.
Very recently, within the past month, within the
Okay,
past month, I made a decision to spay abort a stray
there
dog
was it. Yeah.
that I had seen for the past year on my way out to the river. So where I live, I'm fairly close to San Joaquin River, and I have permission from the person who owns the land up until the riverfront to utilize their road to get back to this really special little like nugget of nature where I can just sit in this flowing water and like let my day just drain off of me. And so it's been a really vital piece in me being in animal rescue in the part of the valley that I'm in, and my capability to like say, not no, but not right now to some of these dogs that I see. Um, One of these dogs that I have seen has been on my way up to the river. It's this beautiful white Great Pyrenees. There's a female and a male. See her all the time. Always, always on the skinny side. Always dropped off food. Just, anyways. The last time I saw her, she was so skinny that it terrified me. It terrified me because it was the point where I knew that something needed to be done, but I didn't have the capability to do it. Okay, so then I stopped going to the river because I had to tell myself, where are my responsibilities right now? Can I even siphon food off to try and get this dog back up to a weight without presenting another fundraiser to social media, without having to go into this story about this dog and the river and this whole thing and condense it into fourth grade reading material so that it reaches people. I didn't have it in me. Like there's nothing about that that I wanted to do. And so I sat back. I sat back and I did not go to the river for 2 months. And I tell you, that 2 months was the most productive 2 months that I have ever had around this house. This is when Trudy got out,
Okay.
which
All right.
is a story that we have to tell. That's
Yeah.
when Trudy got out. Okay. And that was actually towards the end of it. So after 2 months, all of this like chaos, all of this work I had been doing, building a fence, making sure that this property is as secure as possible, I got that feeling of overwhelm where it's like, I just need to. And I decided to go to the river. And I'm like just driving up happy as can be because I know how good I'm about to feel. And sitting right at the gate is this female Pyrenees that has never, not once, sat in that. Like she's not human friendly. She's never been. She had approached me once, and it's only because like her little friend did, very scared of me always, but always watching me sitting there. Like she was waiting for me. And I was like, oh, and I had happened to grab scoops of food because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to see her. I don't know if she died. I don't know anything. I just know the last time that I saw her, she looked way worse than I had ever seen her in the past year. But I just had to believe that something was taking care of her. I don't know. So I get there, she's sitting waiting. I pour the food out and she's pregnant. And not just like a little pregnant, like looks to be in active labor, that short breath, the tummy was really tight. And I'm like, oh, great. Like the 2 months I was gone, what's a gestation period for dogs? Like 56 days. Like this makes sense. She was so thin because she's in these early stages of, creating this life inside her. So I was so proud of myself. You know what I did? I went to the river. Oh, I didn't like freak out. I say like, oh my God, da, da, da. No, I went to the river. I did my thing. I had Livy with me who loves the river. We went and played. I went home. I prepared this area of my quarantine area that I had specifically been working on during that 2 month. I didn't know why. I had no idea why I was working on a quarantine period or area, but I did. And I knew there was just like maybe 10 more minutes of basic cleanup to do before I could throw a bed, water, etc. in there. And I'm like, this is great. This is amazing. I love that I can do this. I go and get her, pick her up, put her into my car. That was a task in itself. Have you ever tried to pick up a pregnant? Like the weight distribution was like
All right.
off. It
All right.
so I get her back to the house and I realize just how far along she is in her stages of labor. And then I start freaking out. Then my heart is like, oh, no, 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 no. Diane, you've been through this before. Your very first rescue experience, you decided to foster a pregnant dog for an established rescue. That dog whelped a litter in your bathroom, had to have an emergency cesarean. I brought one of the puppies back to life. Like there was that whole thing
Wow.
flashed and flooded into my brain. And I'm like, no, there's no way that I have the capacity to even help her through this right now. So I start calling emergency vets. And they're like, no, because there's no ownership. And I understand that. Like, I couldn't provide ownership for this dog. I knew this dog had been astray. The 2 months when I had first saw her, I actually spoke with the property owners that day because I saw how thin she was, asking if I could get her spayed. So I already had permission from the property owners to get this dog spayed. So once I scooped her up, plopped her in my quarantine room, realized that 24-hour vets weren't going to be of any help to me. I even called one of the vets and I said, my dog is pregnant and I can't financially, I don't have room, I don't know what to do, but can you spay abort? And they told me no. And that's a whole nother thing, right? Because I gave these really, really valid reasons as to why I couldn't allow this new litter into my life and how that should be an option for the general public to do.
Okay.
Easily.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I get so distracted. So spay abort. So then I call my vet the next day. I'm like, here's the situation. Absolutely, Diane. Like, and I bring her in, they spay abort. I keep her in the quarantine room for the next 2 weeks because now she has this 8-inch scar coming up her belly. Now I'm learning about her. Now she has a name, Ray Grace. And now she's trying to hop over my fence that no dog has ever scaled here except
Wow.
her with this 8-inch incision because she's only 2.5 miles away from home. She can smell her, everything that she takes care of there. So that kind of just ended about a week ago. And I didn't realize how much even that 3-week span that I had her took away from my ability to upkeep the house,
Mm-hmm.
to everything that went along with it. I'm still in that decompression period of, wow, that was a really hard situation that was presented to me for the first time in animal rescue. The way I handled it was with confidence and complete, like, I didn't realize how taboo it was to speak about spay aborting pregnant dogs, especially within rescue environments. And it confuses me as to why we do allow puppies to be whelped when there is such a crisis. So that was another stand. And then going and speaking about that online, I was terrified to do, but I did it. And then I look at the comment section, right? I look at the comment section and it's full of love and support and understanding. And I look back to the Vern situation the 3 years ago when I didn't necessarily have this core group of people believing in my actions and supporting me and getting to know me as a person. And it's, yes, it's about the dogs, but they're choosing to invest into my heart. And like, it just was another just affirmation that what you're doing is good. Although hard, it's okay and it's good. And I'm here to learn this voice. I'm here to, instead of making weird little comments of, I'm putting it on the dream board, like learning to speak about those dreams in a way that people can believe in. So.
All right, Diane. So talking about the doc that you just shared, the story. Um, I wanted to ask you, and this connects me to that question about in general, how do you take care of the health of your dogs, right? And I'm quite interested in terms of how much experience do you have in terms of going into alternative ways of and basically working with vets as well, who are more open to alternative ways and more alternative in terms of holistic ways, let's say, so it is not directly the usual way, but something which is more holistic, let's say. So how do you take health care of your dogs in general?
In general, it stems from what my ability to do.
Yeah.
As selfish as that sounds, I always try to really make that known because of how many different approaches and ways there are that we think we're supposed to do or we want to explore when it comes to our personal healing or the healing within our animals. It's just there's so much information. Where do you start? What do you do? How does this fit into a lifestyle that you can maintain? And so I think there really needs to be a pretty logical approach to what can I do as an animal rescuer for long-term longevity, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, the first thing would be to get them off kibble. But can I do that? No. Okay. I can't financially afford to pull every single animal that I have. It's just not feasible.
Okay.
So you start thinking about all these alternative holistic ways. So I started planting a lot of wheatgrass around the property because this has multiple benefits to it, as well as arugula is another thing that I have for them just to munch on whenever they want. So these little things that I know I can do
Okay.
to support longevity is all I'm really holding myself accountable for. From a healing standpoint, obviously, if a dog is in a whole lot of pain, what am I going to do? What do I believe in? Do I believe in giving them medicine, or do I believe that the power of the sun can really help this situation? And I think you have to learn, like you said, to kind of step out of this normal way of thinking and believe as a person that these holistic approaches are going to help your animal in the way that West or whatever medicine told you this pill was going to help your animal. And once you believe that, it becomes so much easier to identify what your dog needs. So can I bring up Trudy now?
Well, this of course leads us to Trudy. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Trudy.
because this brings one of my biggest personal medical cases. Her name is Gertrude. She was hit by a car and paralyzed from the waist down. The original finder took her into emergency. And she was a stray, so they took her into emergency. They said, we need to euthanize her. She'll never use her legs again. I got called in the middle of that just because of being an animal rescue. And 2 months before, there had been a dog that was hit on the street that I lived on. And being the street that I live on, the my partner at the time had come in and woke me up, just this dog's in the street. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Anyway, so I go down and look, I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is not good. I take her into our primary veterinarian. They said, well, here's where the break is. This is what's going on. There's nothing that shows internal damage yet, but it's going to need extensive surgery, XYZ. So I decided, well, I know that these injuries that can really, really take her life very quickly won't show themselves right away. So I'm going to go home and just provide support as much as I can for this animal. And I fought so hard for this little one to stay alive. Like there's any animal that comes into my care, they don't die. Like it just is never a thought in my head that they are going to die unless I am like certain of it, unless like I know like I have to make that choice. But like I was so sure. I was like, oh no, dogs get hit by cars all the time. Like there's dog wheelchair. Like I know that dogs can live from this. So I just bring her home. This is my first case. I'm studying, learning, doing everything I can. And I end up having to let her go because she started showing the swelling and she just stopped eating and she was no longer there. So I let her go and that was devastating to me, obviously. But then I get this call about this little dog that got hit. And my first gut reaction was nope, because I killed this other one. Like I thought, like I was still in this mindset where like I should have done more. I should have left her at the vet's office for days on end, racking up this like $1,000, tens of $1,000 bill, whatever. My first reaction was no. And then they sent me a picture. Don't let them send you a picture. Oh my gosh, you're just the cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Her little human eyes. And I'm like, I was like, it was almost like knew her name immediately too, Gertrude, because she just looks so naughty, but then cute at the same time. Anyway, so I bring Trudy in and we get through the first week and the first month of all these things. And sure enough, she has absolutely zero use of her back leg. So I have to learn how to express her bladder. And I start learning how to time her bowel movements. So like, I mean, if I'm to present her to a doctor, I can say that she poops between this hour and this hour and this hour and this hour. And so a lot of times, like I won't wrap her up in a diaper.
Okay.
Because she no longer, like, since I'm expressing her bladder at the right times of the day when it's full until it's empty, she doesn't have these leaking occurrences that happen as to why someone would need a diaper. So that's a whole nother thing. A lot of people think that, anyways, you can cut that out. Trudy. So as she starts healing, I start learning. I start learning physical therapy. I see where the break is. I start learning about the spinal cord. I start learning about nerves. I start learning about all these different things that maybe I could just do or apply or what's the word I'm looking for? Experiment?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Investigation, experiments. I mean, did you know what was her problem actually? Why she was disabled?
Oh, sorry. So she was hit by a car.
Ah,
Her
she was
spine,
hit by a car. Okay, yeah.
yeah, she was hit by a car. Her spine was stacked, so it was like a
Okay.
staircase.
Okay.
Went this way. Her left hip was completely shattered. It just was. I remember even talking to our primary veterinarian of like, oh, we should place that so when she gets use of her leg, she'll be able to walk properly. And not being told no, but almost being like, that's a silly idea because they never thought she would walk again. But in my head, she's walking and we need to make sure this joint is properly like suited for her to be walking, which is why a lot of times, or it's her right leg, you'll see that leg
Okay.
sweep on because that's the leg that's not set.
All right. All right.
Leg was broken. Okay, so yeah, she was hit by a car, paralyzed. So now I learn all of these things that I can do for her from a physical therapy standpoint. We have water therapy. We have all of the different like balls that you can put underneath them, the sit to stand, all of these different stretches that I start learning to do with her. And she starts gaining strength. And then I can see that like her strength, isn't more so from a stability standpoint. It's more from like a reaction standpoint. Like her body just knows it's supposed to do that, but she doesn't know how to sit in it. So then we start working, like I get a bunch of like pool noodles and I'm like putting it between her legs to make this like structurally possible. And we start doing that. And I'm like, this is great. She's kind of learning things. But in my head, I knew that there were ways that it could be faster or more efficient or just that. Okay. So then, are you ready? You've heard this, but I come across a post on Human Garage of this device that they were holding over this woman's head. I don't know her name, but I felt almost like it was like here. It was like I felt it. It was a really interesting experience for me. And then like I get chills just talking about it. That's when I'm like, light therapy. You hear about red light therapy being offered for dogs, for people to help with XYZ. How does it help with XYZ? Like, how does this light? So then you go, well, then I went into like rabbit holes and I started learning about everything I could and then come back to the post and I'm like, asterisk writes on Dreamboard.
Yeah.
Then you saw it and messaged me. And I'm like, wow, that really works. But that's when I really got excited. I really got excited because I believed that this device could help her. And as you mentioned, you have to believe that this thing that I'm holding is as powerful as science says it is, no matter what it feels like, no matter how light it is, how easy it is to maneuver, like you have to believe it works and it will work. Well, like I told myself that, but I didn't know it was going to work so well and so fast for Trudy. Um, Blown away just because of I know how well I study these animals and I know her micro movements and how I could see her stability and how I could see her knuckling and me trying to stretch out every ligament possible and train all of these like smaller muscle groups to like lift her fucking paw up. Like that's all I want. I just want to go from here to here. Like that's it, Trudy. Come on. I couldn't figure it out, like connection wise. Does that make like I couldn't figure out how to get her body to do it. Within a week, I haven't seen her knuckle in a way where she doesn't like fix it almost immediately since since 3 months now, 2.5 months.
Yeah,
I've
something
been
like
using
that.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm not using it like every day consistently. It's when I can, it's probably I think 2 to 5 times a week. I was really gung ho at the very beginning. I'm like, huh, okay. But now that I'm like seeing that result, I know it works. I know that I can spread this result out over the entire crew. So bringing Apple in with her visual impairedness
Yeah.
and working on that. But yeah, that's how you came about, and that's
Well,
how.
amazing, amazing. It's actually, yeah, I mean, from what you were sharing, actually, the Human Garage thing, it was when I met with them here in Prague, they were here. So I introduced them to Comra Therapy, and they tried it in combination with the fascia maneuvers. And we are preparing just now a presentation of synergy between Comra and the fascia maneuvers because Comra works actually through the fascia.
Yes.
The fascia is actually the network that distributes that light signal throughout the body.
Mhm.
And when you do the fascia maneuvers, you are rejuvenating the fascia, which makes it even more connective and conductive. And it makes even better. Actually, it distributes even better the effect of Comra therapy. By the way, Human Garage, I've seen them as well doing kind of fascia maneuvers for dogs,
Mhm.
and dogs enjoy it very much. And that was the post that actually you commented under. And because I knew already at that time, I've seen quite a lot of quite a few. We've had quite a few amazing cases with animals, with dogs, with birds, with cows, with horses. From the ones that I can recall, with dogs, for example, we had a veterinary who's working with Comra in Russia, and she worked with a dog who actually he felt in the winter in a frozen lake. He felt
Mm,
it's a German Shepherd, competitive one. He was competing in some kind of a agility type of activity, so very active dog, and he felt into the under the ice basically,
mm.
and when they pull him out, he was almost dead. He couldn't walk. He had a lot of basically they tried to bring him back to life, so he was semi alive. And the doctors actually said they cannot help him in any way, so they send the dog home, and he was semi-dead. And then the vets, not the doctors, but the vets, and then eventually the owner got to that vet who is using Comra. Well, to cut the long story short, the dog actually, after half a year or something, he was back competing in full strength, and we have actually another few cases like that, and it seems that Comra works even better and faster for dogs and animals, as I shared with you before already, because there are not these mental blocks, which are blocking the healing, because you have all this suspicion and doubts. Is it working? Doesn't it working? And so forth.
Do
Uh,
you think do you think like you mentioned with fascia too, because I don't quite I love that it's being talked about more,
yeah,
and general public I think is really starting to understand that this network of absolute unknown pretty much, and how, as you said, can be such a transmitter for light. And us as humans, we don't know what it necessarily feels like to have this really smooth flowing fascia like all the time in our lives, because we hold on to so much stress and everything in our bodies gets so wound up. Like dogs release that easier essentially, and so their network probably, I always think that it's not as like fucked up as ours is.
I
Because
believe
like
so. I believe so because, all right, well, they, of course, they have their own emotions and they go through emotions and stress and stuff. But I don't think, I believe that, and you tell me that. I mean, you work with them, so, but I don't believe they hold on the stress and the emotions inside. All right, maybe if there is some emotional trauma that they've been through, probably it happens something similar like to people. They have it inside of them, but they're not that stuck like we are. Uh,
they're easier to get unstuck for
yes,
sure.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
think they hold on to it until they feel safe, right? Just as we hold on to things until we feel safe enough to let them go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And we've
powerful.
seen, yeah, we've seen as well, birds who actually had broken legs and had actually post surgery problems with not being able to fly, or actually coming back to flying. And I mean, amazing cases. So I'm really convinced, and I've seen it, experienced it, that for animals it is an amazing therapy actually.
I have to remember that I have this magical wand in my hand because I had a crow come into my care a few weeks ago. He
Okay,
didn't he didn't make it, but it's like my dream to like rescue
okay.
an animal that isn't like a dog or cat. Like I always just like admire slash am jealous of the people that get to take care of like baby squirrels and raccoons. Like I just think they're so cute. But I had a crow come in and he didn't make it, but like I have to keep remember like this isn't
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely, Diane. It's. I mean, That's how we calling it, the magic wound.
pond.
Yeah, want. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we call it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I I'm see it is it's special.
Yeah.
It's a special little thing.
So, well, actually, I just wanted to share that and to say that we definitely, as I'll be doing the post production, I'll cut in some of the videos that you share with me about from Trudy's case. But how is Trudy doing now? All
Pause.
right, let's bring in Trudy.
Okay, Hank, your time here is done. Thank you, sir. This is Trudy. She's
Hello.
Trudy. Oh gosh, I'm gonna scoot you back, okay? Hold on. She just walks around now like a big girl.
No, no way. No way. Well, now I'm wow.
Well, see how that
Well, I'm
that
just,
they,
Dan, because I really want the people who are watching this video now to know actually, I'll cut in footage of Trudy when I saw her at the beginning,
yeah,
and I because we haven't talked for a while,
right.
um, I'm absolutely amazed to see her. I mean, she's like she's walking.
She's walking. And what the best thing is like I can only have concrete floors because Apple is incontinent and she seizes when you put a diaper on her. It's like the worst combo possible. So she's interesting. Anyways, concrete floors and how well she does without traction.
Oh my God. So just
So
for everyone to know, basically, when I saw her for the first time, she was basically what is it? She was
like she was dragging or
dragging.
scooting.
Dragging is the word that I was looking for. She was dragging her back
Yeah.
legs behind her on the ground. She couldn't make a step basically. She couldn't stand on her legs at all. She
Yeah, she
wasn't making any attempts, anything.
there you go. Well, she would, right? But she didn't have it's like she didn't do it on purpose. It's like she knows what she's doing now
All right.
and she has more control, and that control is allowing her now to like almost progress in that natural sense of, yeah, I could stand, but now she can stand and extend. Like
Okay.
you know,
Amazing.
it is,
Amazing.
and I don't know if you can see it because this is just blows me away every time.
Wow.
There, did you see the little knuckle? And like then she just pops it right back out. Like she wasn't doing that
Okay.
before. And then that's the leg. It is the left one, I think.
All right. Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, and she jumps now too, which is really
And,
adorable because
and
she only gets like a little each.
yeah, and she had her little runaway, right?
Oh yes, Miss Trudy. So I'm going to tell you the progression of I noticed Trudy first starting to have like significant improvement when it was like her bladder got harder to express.
Okay.
Her bladder got harder to express because I felt like she had more control over her muscles. So it was more alert, like jarring for her when I came in and tried to express it. Like her whole body just tensed up, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Is this like an adverse like effect? Like now I can't express her bladder anymore. Like thanks a lot, home. No. But then like once we both started learning kind of how to maneuver that more and better, I'm like, okay, that's not that bad. I have always let Trudy just kind of have roam area of the front yard. And my golden retriever and my other dog, hold on, sorry. Come here. I just love watching her. It's like I can't stop watching her. See? Just that's good, Trudy. Yeah, so she decided that she wanted to go on an adventure with Norman Dory, which is my golden retriever and lab. They had gotten out, and Trudy followed them. Now, in the Central Valley of California, orchards, fields, um, ditches, flooding of other fields, like you just don't think that this is an environment where a dog who at the time was only dragging herself could exist for like or could go very far in. Like your brain just doesn't comprehend that. Like she couldn't drag herself very far. So I start looking for her. I start freaking out looking for her because like now it's been hours since I've been able to find her. And I'm like, how far could this dog actually go? I borrow like a motorcycle from the neighbor. I start stopping every single worker in the fields that they speak a different language than me. And I'm like showing them pictures and I'm like giving them my phone number. And I'm like, please just call me if you see him, like anything. And then there was a couple workers that did see her. So they were kind of helping me like locate her. Then I would see these little like drag marks, like she was dragging herself through the dust and then they would just stop. And I'm like, how can I like track her trail if her trail just goes, comes, okay. So I think it was like 7.5 hours. She was gone all day. All three dogs were gone all day. I get a call towards the end of the day from one of the workers that I had talked to, letting me know that they had them. All three of them, they just spotted them. And I'm like, oh, great. Where? They tell me where. And I clear the mileage on my car. Zero it out. And I start driving and I get back there. She went over 2.5 miles with these other dogs. A disabled dog that had no use at the time, functionally or purposely, of her back legs, 2.5 miles. And I got back home with her. You would think that even with the dragging that she would have had these like big gashes and no, she had some like road rash as we would call it, but nothing significant. Just used my magic wand on it and it was fine.
Amazing.
It was amazing. And I could only like bring it back to the therapy that we've been doing.
All right. All right.
That's it. There's no other way that she would have that much coherence within her body to go that far.
Amazing, amazing. But you know, the other thing is that it is usually, you know, Comra is a way how to give yourself or the one that you are treating your love and care.
Yeah.
That's a very important ingredient in applying the therapy. Of course, there are actually scientifically proven and existing biological effects that the Comra therapy has on the directly on the cells, supporting ATP production in the cells, supporting intercellular communication and stuff like that. All right, but beyond that is, you know, is the pure love and care you give, the intent for healing that you give into actually applying it to the person or to yourself that you are taking care of. And because you've been saying about as well, you were sharing how even before you started with Comra, you've been looking after Trudy and applying all these manual therapies to her and basically trying to help her. I think that's the whole combination around it. You know, that's the whole combination. So well done for that. That's the way actually how it should be done.
Well, thank you. That almost made me cry because I didn't know that part. I just I mean, like you said, like I know it would work, and I know the love and intent I do put into them, but like hearing it back made me smile real big. So thank you.
Absolutely. So
And
for,
thank
for
you for also like giving me the power, like me the power to do this, because I think that's something that we probably just kind of like skipped over, glazed over is like, yeah, you can go to uh your vet's office or have these areas of care, but being able to have this in my palm and be able to support her the best that I can, like magic. It's just so cool
There's
that
a
I
yeah. There's the whole idea. It's the idea that you can have that power actually at your place at home, not necessarily to go to therapists, to go to a vet, to go to a doctor. Of course, there are
can.
all the therapists and vets who are using the Comra Therapy, but the original idea behind is actually to provide people to support them in their health self-sufficiency for the family, for their animal, fallback family members, and that's the whole idea behind. Yeah, absolutely. So it's amazing to see your results, and I'm really because we have the other dog there as well. Actually, when we started, I also didn't know what to expect because, as one of my colleagues told me, well, you've started with two very difficult cases, so I'm really curious to see what will be the result, because the one case is Trudy, and then the other case is Angel, right?
Apple.
Apple, not Angel, Apple, who is having who is blind on one of her eyes, right? But we then
Yeah.
decided to focus just on Trudy, and I think this was a good decision, just to focus on one healing path or journey, and then eventually, to get experience and then to follow with something else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how Trudy will continue with her healing, and eventually, yeah, to see what results will Apple be getting as well.
Okay, we have to put this in. Um, Hi, this is Gertrude. She is available for adoption. It is mandatory that her adopter also purchases the Comera Palm along with her. Not along with her, you don't buy her. There's no adoption fee, but she is adoptable throughout the United States and Canada, and she is a joy to be around. She has a wheelchair, so you could be like the cool family on the block with the dog in the wheelchair. But she needs a home. She's been with me for about a year now, and it's pretty wild, huh, Trudy? Don't add any of that. I gotta practice it. I gotta sprucing it up a little bit. But
No,
I
that was
am
good. That was good. I liked it. Why not? Yeah.
we'll get there. I'm excited that like yeah, we get to continue on with this and do more case studies together because it's gonna like help me learn also of this facilitator host that I am, how I can really maneuver better for them and more efficiently in situations where I just can remember that this is a tool I can use to help, right? I love it. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm really looking forward to continue working with you on that and cooperating and just see what will be what else, what other miracles we
Another
can we
they
can
have
we
all the
can
time.
achieve together. Very nice. Well, Diane, thank you so much for being my guest. You are the very first guest who is who is taking care of other living beings than only humans. So it's been very nice to talk to you, and I'm really looking forward to see what will be the feedback as well of listeners and viewers, because it's yeah, I mean, your story and Trudy's story and the story of all your other dogs is just amazing. I love it. Yeah. So thank you, Diane, for being guest to Healing with Coherence.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Um, to our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for staying with us till the end. This is Healing with Coherence. So, one more time, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe right now. It is a huge support for us on whichever of the platforms you are watching or listening this to. And please share, comment on social media as well, on all platforms where you've been listening to that. All your comments and sharing helps us grow and share even more magnificent stories like the one that you just heard. Um, Thank you all. Thank you, Diane. Don't go away after we cut.
I don't just press leave meeting.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you with the next guest. Diane, bye
Woo!
bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.